Now there is another interesting subject from app stores to instant gaming, which is next for the industry. Speaker Michael Hudson, co-founder and CEO on GameBake. Hi. Hi, Michael. Just a moment. Okay, here. Push this button.
Hi, everybody. So, yeah, literally just arrived as well, so got here a bit ahead of time. So, yeah, thanks for obviously inviting me to the event today. Really good to be here. First time in Istanbul as well. So, I've enjoyed the city. And today, yes, I'm going to be talking about app stores, instant gaming, and what's next for the industry. So, a little bit about myself, just to start with. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of GameBake.
Yeah.
And so I've been in the industry now for over 15 years. I've worked with many...
Sorry, Michael. Did the microphone work or not right now? Just a minute.
Give it a try.
No, just sorry about that. I guess no. Maybe this is better, huh? Yes.
Bit better, that one?
Yep.
Perfect, brilliant. So yeah, I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of GameBake, and I've spent over 15 years in the industry so far. Worked with many of the big companies out there, mainly in the mobile space, and have worked over that time many different platforms, from flash gaming back in the day, all the way to the emergence of mobile, iOS, Google Play, instant games as well, on Facebook, Snapchat, and other platforms. So I've spent a lot of time really working across multiple different channels, multiple different areas of the gaming industry. And that's kind of what led us into, I guess, what we're doing right now with GameBake and the opportunities that we see in the market right now. So I think this is probably something everyone is pretty familiar with at the moment in sort of the size of the whole market, the gaming market as a whole, and kind of the split between, you know, console, browser, mobile, and so on. But I think what everyone kind of misses, especially right now with the hype around, you know, Web3, around blockchain, and NFTs, where everyone thinks, you know, this is really the future. And I do somewhat agree. You know, that definitely is where I think everything is inevitably going to end up. But the here and now is where we, you know, really should be sort of focusing when we're building our businesses, and the opportunities that exist right now outside of the core platforms such as iOS and Google Play are massive, and they should definitely not be snubbed, and they should definitely be taken advantage of. So what you're seeing with mobile, which is over 50% of the industry, is definitely not the full picture. And we can see that right here with, you know, a breakdown of iOS, of Google Play, and, you know, the current sort of percentage of alternative stores. So we're looking at Huawei App Gallery, Samsung Galaxy Store, Up to Down, Tap.io, and many others that exist out there as well. And the opportunity, you know, is massive. And this kind of growth that we've seen so far is really from a minority portion of the industry as well. So if we really start to take these platforms seriously, we can really start to see some exponential growth in these channels. And that's what, you know, these guys are really looking for. And at the moment, the competition is so low in these channels as well that there's a great opportunity for, you know, small all the way to big developers and studios alike to really take advantage of being able to scale across global markets on channels such as App Gallery at the moment. And then moving as well to instant gaming, as the title says, you know, it's not just all about Android and the mobile space. You know, there's a huge opportunity as well in HTML5. And although it only accounts for, you know, roughly sort of browser gaming 1% of the market right now, that's still, you know, a 2.6 billion opportunity currently as it stands in the market. And really and truly, them sort of numbers are not taken into account platforms such as Snapchat, such as Facebook Instant, and probably more obscure platforms as well, such as Jio Mobile in India, MX Player in India as well, which have hundreds of millions of users. But probably most people outside of that market haven't really heard of these channels before. But they are amazing channels, and they really can provide massive scale on terms of user basis, but also revenue basis as well. And a lot of the times, you know, in markets such as India, where it's harder to monetize, you know, users in this market, you can normally find that you can actually monetize better by actually going with the local channels. So talking to the local partners such as Jio in India, and find actually better routes to monetization and scale in a market like that. And to give a bit of a breakdown as well on sort of the opportunity, so I can't name the specific games, but you can count their sort of top 10 grossing on iOS and Google Play. But obviously, you know, Google Play on iOS, of course, you know, they're still going to be the main drivers of revenue. And, you know, I'm not here to dispute that fact. But there is an amazing opportunity still, you know, just with one channel here, as you can see, with Huawei App Gallery, that, you know, some of these games are adding nearly 10% monthly and quarterly to their bottom lines. And they're doing this purely organically as well. There's no UA spend. It's usually just working with the channels directly to actually get, you know, channel promotions, pushing sort of featuring on the store. You can kind of liken it to the beginning of the App Store, you know, roughly, say, 10 years ago now, where featuring on the App Store and featuring on Google Play was a really great means for user acquisition with games. Nowadays, of course, it's, you know, all about numbers, of course, and it is just a numbers game in UA. But on channels like Huawei, on Samsung and others alike, you've still got this amazing opportunity for organic growth. And the competition is very low, and these channels are really gagging, really, to be fair, for content right now. It's one thing that they're missing, and they need games on their stores. So right now is a great opportunity to be able to get, you know, really good deals on revenue shares from the stores, and actually having the chance and the opportunity to grow organically, which is something, you know, really is rarely seen in our industry today. But we come to, obviously, issues, and there's always issues. Nothing's, you know, free in this world. So there's always problems that we encounter. And a lot of the time, you know, a lot of the issues come from the technology side and the operations side of when we're building our games. You know, every single new channel that we end up deploying to is another channel that we need to run live ops on. It's another channel that we need to integrate SDKs. We need to upkeep them SDKs and so on. And this really does, you know, for small teams, but even, you know, we're speaking with the larger guys out there as well, it does create massive opportunities where there's just a lack of resources to support these channels, as well as just a lack of, I would say, knowledge on how these channels run as well. So, you know, just from that side of things, moving all the way as well to the actual ecosystem itself. So a lot of stuff that we take for granted, so advertising in our games, for example. Last talk was speaking about hyper-casual, and that's, you know, a fully funded monetization, ad monetization model. But being able to do that successfully on platforms such as Galaxy Store, such as Huawei App Gallery, is very difficult right now because the ecosystem just doesn't exist in the same way. And that's really where, you know, we're trying to sort of spearhead, I guess, the solution at GameBake to that problem by really introducing, you know, the ad networks, introducing user acquisition models and payments as well into these channels, so it's actually fully supported, and we can start to expect a similar standard, I guess, as what we find on iOS and Google Play, but in these other channels as well, so we can actually not just take advantage of the organic growth, but start to run scalable and profitable games on these channels as well. So there is a lot of issues, but at the same time, you know, there is definitely a lot of opportunity out there, and I think the opportunity kind of outweighs the problems that we see right now. And, you know, really starting at the very beginning, I think one of the sort of keys to success when thinking about how to deploy your games into new channels is just planning it from the very beginning. You know, you shouldn't really just be focusing on just Google Play and iOS. You should be looking at the wider market out there, that 20% that exists outside, and how you can take advantage of that from the very beginning, because a good plan at the beginning will definitely pay dividends later on down the line. And as well, finding the right partnerships. You know, of course, I've got the GameBake logo there. We've got to have a little plug at the moment. But, you know, finding the right partners to work with, be that the actual channels themselves, or, you know, working with the right ad partners, the right marketing partners, just finding the right people that understand these channels, understand the markets, and can really help you grow your games in these channels as well, which is the most important thing at the end of it. And of course, you know, finding them right partners and having the right distribution plan from the beginning is going to enable you to really look and focus on scaling your games across these channels, and not just focusing on the core channels, but scaling globally across them as well. So yeah, that's a quick sort of run through of, I guess, the opportunities that do exist. And just to reiterate, there is a massive opportunity for all of us to actually work together as we have over the years. Right now, growing iOS, growing Google Play, but now to start growing the alternative stores that exist out there, and really start to build, I think, a more democratized opportunity as well, where we have the choice of where we want our games to be played. And have some negotiating power as well. One of the big stories that I think we all know is the disputes with Apple and Epic, and also Google and so on as well, over the payments, over sort of the percentages they take, etc. And actually taking advantage of these channels is bringing back a little bit of that power, so we can start to negotiate as developers with these stores and start to get something that's more, I guess, advantageous to us as developers and as studios. So yeah, feel free to reach out. Feel free to come and say hello. Obviously through the rest of the day as well. And thank you very much. Any questions? Fire away.
Thank you. I have a question for you. What's the important point of the GameBake's doing? So I'm looking your presentation. The scale is very very important for the new app, I guess. So what's your doing in this part of choose the right partners?
Sure. So to GameBake specifically, we basically have built technology which is completely SDK-less. So there's no integrations at all. And it allows you to basically deploy your games into all of these different channels, be that App Gallery, Samsung Galaxy Store, and the likes as well. So how we kind of see distribution is very difficult at the moment. Yes. The opportunity definitely is there for us, as I said, but it is very difficult to be able to upkeep every single channel as you kind of deploy towards them. And that's really what we've built as a technology and platform, is to simplify it and bring that into just one core system. So you can just basically upload your Google Play game to GameBake, and from there just decide where you want to deploy your games, how you want to run your user acquisition, and what partners you want to work with as well, be that on analytics or attribution, all the way to ad networks and so on, as we're building the platform further. So really for us, it's just about simplifying and making this as simple and easy as possible, but also as transparent as possible, so you know what you're getting in terms of percentages from the stores, in terms of fees that we take as a company, but also what the ad networks are taking, and other partners as well. Because I think that's one thing that really is lacking in the industry right now. Some areas are good, but there's a lot of areas where ads, for example, there's a lot of fees that are hidden, so to say, that I think a lot of people wouldn't really see just on the sort of front of it. But some networks would be taking up to 50% of the revenue. So you think you're doing really well, but really you're doing okay. Yeah. you're doing okay. And that's really what we want to start to open up. We don't want to have these hidden fees. Everyone, we're all running businesses, so of course there needs to be, a reason and a way for us to make money, as well as the developers and the games. But there's no reason why that shouldn't be able to be open, be transparent, and open for discussion and communication between everybody as well. So we can all work together to just grow, really, because I think that's the best way for all of us to really keep on scaling this industry. As I said, everyone's talking about Web3, and that's being sort of the next area of growth. And I agree. In 5+ years' time, I think right now it's a bit of hype and a bit of a bubble. But definitely right now, there's a lot that we can still do in the old school Web 2, if you want to call it that.
So, what's your opinion about the Web 3? So, Web 3 will changing this industry. Your opinion?
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely the direction that everything is moving, and my personal opinion, I think blockchain, crypto is going to be driven by gaming as a whole. It's a natural fit, I think, to the gaming industry. So overall, I think it's definitely where things are going. I just don't think it's going to happen this year, for example. It's going to take a lot more time. There's a lot more to do for it to become very sort of mainstream globally, with just normal users, normal players out there. And that's what I think the biggest barrier is, and it's going to take time for it to really become a mainstream part of, I guess, society in general, crypto, rather than just being kind of a news headline as it is at the moment. So I think there was a stat earlier where Q1 this year there was about 90 billion in investment into
Wow.
sort of Web3 and crypto, which I think there's a good few billion of that's been wasted at the moment. So we'll see what the VCs and stuff say next year. But yeah, you know, there's a lot of money being pumped into it, and it's great for innovation. So it's a good thing.
For us, I
yeah,
guess.
it definitely is. It's a good thing. But I think there's just a lot of hype at the moment, and I think really right now what we're focusing on is, I'm almost putting it as kind of our platform is a Web 2.5, where we're trying to open up what already exists, make it more, I guess, decentralized in a sense, to use that word.
Yep.
But also help the transition into Web3, so it's kind of a natural move into blockchain, into crypto, rather than kind of a sudden jolt into it.
Yes.
So yeah, it's definitely coming. My opinion is 5 years or so now.
Thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You said that this is the first time, I guess, in Turkey.
Not in Turkey, but first time in
Istanbul,
Istanbul.
so enjoying here.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. So let's take a 5 minutes coffee break if you want. So after that we will be here again. Thank you.